What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I've got a story time that was sent in to me about this dude's unfortunate experience with his step-uncle at a family reunion. Apparently, dude's just a boomer who doesn't really understand why people wouldn't want to do 90 hours a week of hard labor. I know, it just sounds so enticing, doesn't it? Anyways, guys, it should be a pretty entertaining story time, so without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so like I said, the person that sent this in to me was at a family reunion, and it just so happens that they're at that age where, like, they could get a job, but, you know, they're very fortunate to be in a situation where they play a game competitively, and they've managed to make a little bit of money playing this game, right? Not enough to, like, pay off mom and dad's house, buy a car, you know, move to Calabasas or anything, but they're making enough money playing video games that, like, you know, they don't necessarily need to go get a crappy part-time job to be able to have, like, money to go out on Friday. And listen, I'm gonna say that's pretty cool, you know? I feel like if you're making money playing video games, period, that's pretty cool in my opinion, just because not a lot of people do it. And on top of it, like, you know, what's better than getting paid to just game if it's something you're gonna do anyways? You know, the dude had gotten really into the game, was playing it all the time, and just because of the situation, now he's getting paid to do something he does all the time. What a G. And I don't want you to think that this guy gets to his family reunion and is running around telling everyone that would listen that, like, yo, dude, I'm getting paid to play video games, I'm so much better than you, bro. When I'm as rich as Mr. Beast, I'm not giving you 10,000. You know, nothing like that was going on. In fact, he was just kind of avoiding the subject with most of his family members because a lot of them were older and he just figured that they would kind of make fun of it or not really understand. So he was just kind of keeping it low key. And one of the people that he didn't really know too well at this, like, family reunion was his aunt's new husband, which would make him step-uncle, I think. And, you know, he comes over and starts talking to him, and they're talking about, like, life and all that stuff. And the step-uncle starts asking him about, like, what work he does, you know. And listen, I want to make this very clear. I understand that, like, YouTube videos, video games, I don't want anyone to think that I think it's comparable to hard labor, all right? It's just not, you know. People work a lot harder than, like, video game players. People work a lot harder than YouTubers. It doesn't mean that I think it's, like, the most useful job in the planet, but I don't want anyone to think I'm about to crap on, like, people who do real work, you know? That being said, there's something where, like, some of these people do this thing, and I'm not saying 99% of people who work very hard jobs aren't like this, but there's the 1% that's like, oh yeah, you know, if you're not willing to work 90 hours a week of overtime and sweat and almost die the entire time you're working, then you're just not working, you know? Like, you know the type I'm talking about, where they're like, yeah, sure, I work 180 hours a week, but that's because I'm willing to grind and you're not. It just so happened that his wife's new husband was one of those dudes that's like, if you're not out there breaking your back, then you're not a real man. You know, so he starts asking this guy who happens to play video games for money about his job and whatnot, and he starts prying a lot. Like, well, what do you do? Like, oh, what's your specialty? Da-da-da-da-da. And eventually, after a lot of prying, he just decides to come clean, and he tells this dude, he's like, listen, I play video games for money, you know, it's not a ton, but, like, it's fun, I really enjoy it. And the step-uncle literally does, like, a sound, like a idiot, and starts screaming at him like, well, that's not real work, you know, I was asking if you have a job. I didn't realize that you were one of these idiots that think it's hard work to be on the computer. And the kid's just kind of confused a little bit because it's like, listen, bro, even if you don't like that people are playing video games for a living, it's just kind of weird to start insulting your, like, wife's nephew because you don't feel like what he does for money is a real job, because it really doesn't matter if you like it or not. I mean, if he's getting paid to do it, it just is what it is. It's kind of a job, right? You know, there's a lot of stuff that, like, people would be like, you can get paid for that? And honestly, as long as the person's getting their bag and it's not affecting anyone in a negative way, it really shouldn't matter, right? So he's confused and he's like, yeah, well, you know, I never said that it's insanely hard work. I never said that it's the hardest job in the world, but I'm getting paid for it, so, you know, it counts. And that's a pretty fair defense. You know, not once was this guy like, yeah, by being a professional gamer, I actually have the brain power of 80 normal adults. He just said, yeah, you know, sometimes I get paid to play video games, so I don't really have a part-time job while I'm in school. And his uncle's response to him explaining that is like, well, no, it's just actually pathetic that you think that's work at all. And at this point, he's just like, bro, what are you talking about? You know, once again, I'm not saying I work as hard as you. I'm not saying I work as many hours. You asked what I do for money, so I answered your question. And the uncle asks a question of him now, trying to, like, make him look bad. I just don't think the uncle really thought through the implications of this question. Because he's he's like, so what? You're telling me that if they were going to give you millions of dollars to play video games, you would just do it and you wouldn't have another job? Which, like, dude, I can't believe that question came out of your mouth because, yeah, I'm pretty sure anyone would do that, bro. I'll be honest, if a company wanted to toss me a couple million of dollars a year to just watch paint dry, dude, I would become a professional at it. You know, you change that to just like playing video games for a lot of money. Yeah, who wouldn't do that? You're telling me that if you have an option, both jobs pay the exact same. Like, stick with me here. Hypothetically, there's an imaginary job offer, right? They're like, we're gonna pay you $2 million a year. Your option is to do a bunch of hard labor, or your option is to play video games, and your payment's the exact same. Listen, you know, I don't know why you would choose to go break your body and work really hard if you don't have to. Like, duh, he's gonna pick that option. And so that's what the kid says to his uncle. He's like, yeah, of course I would. If the situation presented itself to make a bunch of money as a video game player, I would take it. And he starts going off on this rant about how, like, video games make you pathetic, and this entire generation has just turned into a bunch of entitled lazy people. And listen, I'm not gonna say that there's not entitled lazy people. I think they're in every generation. It is what it is. That being said, I'm not really understanding how this dude putting in work and winning tournaments to get paid makes him pathetic or lazy or not wanting to work. Like, you know, I've never been exceptionally incredible at video games. I've been to tournaments before and stuff. You know, I've like tried to play in tournaments and whatnot. If someone's pretty consistently winning money at a popular video game, I'm assuming that they're putting in hard work at the game. Once again, you can't really compare it to somebody breaking their back, like changing air conditioning or anything. That being said, the idea that, like, you know, he's just pathetic in video gaming and wants to do no work for his money doesn't really make sense either. Anyways, this guy's still in the middle of his rant of how, you know, this generation sucks because all they want to do is be YouTubers and play video games. And he literally cuts off his uncle in the middle of this rant and goes like, well, dude, what do you want me to do? You know, not make money doing something that I like to do? And he's like, well, you know, I'm just saying you should consider getting a real job. And he's like, okay, but even if I was going to go get a real job, I'm in school. I couldn't work a full-time job. I'd have to do a part-time job. And at that point, I will make less money than I do currently playing video games. So why would I do that? And his uncle's like, because you're setting yourself up for failure and making yourself pathetic by having to put that on your resume. And he's like, well, I just won't put it on my resume. And then his uncle starts lecturing him about he's ridiculous if he thinks he's going to be able to raise a family on a gamer salary, which just the phrase gamer salary in and of itself sounds silly, right? But on top of that, dude, not once did this guy say that, like, that's it. That's the entire plan, you know? He's going to be a gamer forever. He's going to, you know, raise a family while playing games. All he had said was, I currently play video games because I make as much as I would at a part-time job. That's not even a crap ton of money, bro. It's just enough to be like, yeah, there's no reason for me to go do that if I can do this. If he had told his uncle, you know, I'm dropping out of college, I'm dropping out of high school to start pursuing this gaming career where I'm making $50 a week, yeah, by all means, go off on him. Tell him that's a horrible idea. But he didn't say that. The dude's still in school. He still has college plans. He's aware of the fact that, like, sure, everything works out. He gets to play video games. That's the dream. But he's not delusional out here being like, yeah, I actually punched my mom in the face with my textbook because she said I couldn't drop out to become a pro player. So this giant rant that this dude's step-uncle is going on just doesn't really apply to him, like, in the slightest. And I also love this boomer, like, you know, rhetoric. Oh, video games make people pathetic and lazy. Listen, dog, there's literally been lazy people forever. In fact, like, one of my favorite things I've ever found is this quote. I really can't remember where it's from, so whatever, I guess it's not too great at the quote thing, but it was something like some dude from the Middle Ages saying that his kid had been reading too many books. You know, I think whatever generation is before the generation that's currently there just isn't gonna understand them and thinks they're lazy and not doing everything right. And you know what? Sometimes they're right. I'm not gonna sit here and say that Gen Z's got the strongest work ethic to ever exist, but to say that all of us are pathetic because we play video games just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, you know? If video games made everybody pathetic, then just like the entire population of young people would be pathetic, dog. Every mom that's got Candy Crush downloaded is technically pathetic by your analysis here. And I don't know, man, I just don't feel like everyone that plays Candy Crush is pathetic. Sure, you know, I'm not gonna say everyone playing Candy Crush is also a stud, but to be like, video games, if you play them, pathetic, kinda weird. Anyways, Uncle's going on a rant and he's like, still trying to explain to him, this isn't my life plan, I don't think I'm gonna raise a family on this, dude, I never said that. And he's still going off about how how it's a horrible idea and he should just quit video games and get a real job. And at this point, he's just screaming at him. And so everybody at the family reunion is starting to look, and his wife walks over to him and is like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, did you know that your nephew was playing video games for money? And she looks at him and she's like, oh, that's really cool. And he's like, you think that's cool? I think it's gonna warp his mind and turn him into a pathetic loser with no work ethic. And his wife looks at him and just asks him like a question that truthfully he should have asked sooner, but just hadn't come to his mind. He's like, well, why do you care? And he's like, what do you mean, why do I care? And he's like, listen, if he wants to play video games for money, as long as he can support himself, who cares if he's lazy? It doesn't really impact you at all. And he's like, yeah, but I don't want people to be lazy. And he's like, all right, I understand that you don't want people to be lazy, but as long as he's making money, why do you care? And, step uncle's sitting there stammering for a little bit, not knowing what to say. And then he starts being like, well, look at the hours I have to put in. It's not fair that he would get to play video games and make more than that. And the kid's like, yeah, I'm not saying it's fair, bro. Like, by all means, I get where you're coming from. It would suck to work 90 hours a week, and just know that, like, someone playing video games made more. That would suck. That being said, what do you want me to do, bro? I'm in a position to get paid to play video games. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Like, what? This guy's supposed to turn down money for playing video games because his uncle works really hard at a job? That's just not his problem, dude. Like, I can understand how it's annoying, but what? He's supposed to not take the money because you work hard? And so he says something to his uncle about like, yeah, I can understand how that's frustrating, but I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to stop getting paid to play video games just because you don't like it. And his uncle snaps back something along the lines of like, well, then I guess you'll just have to live with the fact that I don't respect you. Which, listen, man, call me crazy. If you're going to tear into me, call me a loser, say I'm pathetic, make fun of my job, I don't really care if you respect me because it's pretty obvious that you already don't. Like, if you already are calling this dude a pathetic loser who's lame and is going to be a pathetic loser forever, what does he have to lose by you not liking him? It's not like you're, his biggest fan right now anyways. And even then, what? Oh, you're not gonna respect me? You're right. Oh, I shouldn't get paid to play video games. That's so true. Like, what, bro? Hey, man, listen, you should just quit your job. Otherwise, your mom will be mad. Okay, well, I guess my mom's gonna be mad unless she's trying to start paying my rent or something. Anyways, he looks at his uncle and says, well, I can live with that. And at that point, his uncle gets pissed and literally like goes and storms into the garage, and everybody in the family reunion is kind of just like looking at the situation awkwardly. And he wasn't trying to make a scene, but it is what it is, bro. Like, he's the one that stormed out. And what did he expect him to say, man? Like, all right, I can live with that. Like, you're the one saying that I don't respect you anymore. Like, what did you want him to do? Get on his knees and cry? But regardless, he storms out of there, and they just kind of like didn't talk for the rest of the family reunion. He talked to everybody else fine. A couple of his like, younger cousins thought what he was doing was really cool, because obviously at that point a lot of people started asking about it. It is what it is. You can't have a screaming fight about something and expect people not to mention it after that. But the entire time that the family reunion was going on, his uncle just like wouldn't make eye contact with him, and whenever he was near, he would just loudly complain about like how lazy the new generation has become. Which, listen, bro, you want to talk about not respecting this kid, like, at least go up to him and be like, I don't like you, you're lazy. Instead of just, oh, this generation's become so lame, as loud as possible. And to make things just even more awkward, right? You gotta remember, this is a fully grown man. You'd think after an hour or two he might calm down and be like, wow, I got really mad at this kid for making money playing video games. That's kind of silly. But instead, when he went to say goodbye to everybody, dude, he literally walked around the party and gave everybody this big long like, it's such an honor to be a part of your family now. Thank you so much for inviting me. Just this big sappy speech. But when he got to the kid who like, was playing video games, he was standing with his mom, his dad, and his brother. And this dude's step uncle literally said goodbye to everybody in his family except for him, and like didn't even acknowledge him. Just still the entire time he was saying goodbye, like just averted eye contact, avoided mentioning it at all. Which, listen, man, I'm just saying that's even more on you, bro. You don't like somebody, I guess you don't have to talk to them. But if you're like some grown man beefing with some kid because apparently you work harder than him and you hate that he gets paid playing video games, and then you don't make eye contact or like say goodbye when it's also your wife's nephew, I don't know, dude. Why are you letting this kid live in your head rent free, man? Like, listen, I understand that it would suck, right? I'm not saying I don't get why it sucks, but you're just letting him get a massive W by pretending he doesn't exist and like being afraid to look him in the eye or talk to him, What do you expect this 16-year-old to do? 720 no-scope you? Like, dude, you're a grown man. Either way, obviously, the entire interaction was very awkward, but, believe it or not, he did not end up quitting and never playing video games again just because his step uncle got very upset about it. My goodness, who could have possibly seen that coming? entertaining. I'll be honest, even if my uncle was like, I don't like this, I'd be like, well, that sucks for you, bro. It's not your life. It is what it is. Anyways, guys, obviously, I thought this was a pretty entertaining story time. It is a little bit shorter, sorry about that, but if you did enjoy, be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought. In fact, go press the like button, all right? I'm gonna count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, if you didn't press like, I guess you're just pathetic. Seriously, if you don't know what to comment, go ahead and comment the word video games down below. It helps the video do better. I would appreciate it. And of course, subscribe if you're new, turn on those notifications. And if you ever want to listen to the stories offline without gameplay, whatever floats your boat, I do post them on Spotify. Link will be down below. Feel free to go check that out. And yeah, on that note, guys, that'll do it. I'm gonna go be pathetic now. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.